Today, we are answering the question, how do you determine an accurate business value? This is very timely because we've got a couple different investments that we've been working with this year and in the last year. And we are always looking at these different things. And we're actually in talks with people for different investment opportunities in some of our holdings right now. And so today I brought on Grant to join us. He's been on before, so we're glad to have him back.
Thanks for having me.
And we're all going to be talking about how to determine an accurate business value, because whether you're positioning to sell your business or maybe you're buying a business, maybe you just are wanting to invest in a business, you're not even a business owner yourself, but you have a great income and you're thinking about investing in a business, you've got to understand how to value it. And believe it or not, it's not so simple as just following a clear formula. If you're maybe used to real estate and how real estate is valued, there's a whole different game and it gets way more subjective. It's a lot different. So we're going to break it down a little bit. This will by no means be a complete comprehensive guide, but we're going to go as deep as we can, really give you the things that you need to pay attention to. I think the first thing that comes to mind when I think about valuing a business is we've got to break down the two different parts of it, which are the objective part of it and the subjective part of it. So at the end of the day, you've got the numbers of the business, what it's actually doing or what it's projected to do if it's an early stage business. But then you've also got the subjective part of it, which is, I don't know, what does the team look like that's associated with it? What does the future outcast or forecast look like? What does the inside of the business look like? How positioned is it to get a return on investment? So we're excited to break it all down.
I think it'll be a good show. I think we got a lot of kind of perspectives here now that we have Grant, the official, unofficial third member of the podcast. We're going to get some good. We're going to get some really good dynamics. I feel like sometimes we're on the same page, but Grant brings a bit more and a very different set of skills and very different lived experience. So I'm excited to see what he has to say on this.
I'll swing here out of left field then and say that I feel like subjective elements to the deal are way more important to me than the objective. So I know a lot of you guys, you're MBA graduates, you finance boys, you look at the businesses, you're breaking down the financials, you're looking at what's the EBITDA. I just learned EBITDA like 2 years ago. I was buying and selling businesses with no idea what that word meant.
You did $500,000 in sales in a month. So
I never heard the word or the acronym EBITDA. I didn't know what any of this stuff was, right? And I always looked at, like, I called it the intangibles. Like when I was looking at a business, I would always look and just be like, end of day, for me, if I'm buying a company, like I'm thinking, what am I buying? And a lot of times I know professional, folks who look at these things, they're looking at those numbers. Well, I'm buying $200,000 a year in cash flow. I'm buying, $500,000 in FF&E or whatever. I'm thinking, what's the team I'm buying? What's the product or service that they have? What's the competitive advantage that they have? What's the system that they have that's unique? I'm always looking for something that makes them stand out amongst other people. I don't just want to see good numbers on a piece of paper. So for me, I think those things matter way more, and I'd be willing to pay a lot more. And I think, the viewers, when they're looking at businesses, should consider that a lot more deeply than just the financials.
I think,
by the way,
you're saying, we got
not to cut you off, Ryan, we have a comment from the audience from our friend Lucas. Grant is an expert at selling anything predominantly air. Very true.
Yes, I appreciate that. What a surprise. Who is that? Who said
Lucas? Remember we got cigars with them?
Oh yeah, what's up, Lucas? Oh yeah, I was like, how did they? That's some lore there for someone who knows.
Yeah.
The air business.
It was a deep cut.
Yeah, that was a deep cut. I was like, wow. Yes,
glad to have you on, Lucas.
Have sold air before. Thank you very much for reminding me. That's actually and you know what? That was an acquisition. That's a great example. That was an acquisition that we bought that business back before COVID in 2019, and the financials were good. But I was really interested in it because of their positioning. Mm-hmm. They were in major hotels and casinos in Las Vegas. They had a unique product and service category in the oxygen bar concept is what this was. And it was a great plug for us to sell our wellness products. So even though on paper it would have gone for one number or one multiple, we were willing to kind of stretch on that deal because I saw it more as, what are these intangibles that I can bring to this company, I think, after the acquisition that's going to make it successful. And I think that was a big reason why that business worked out for us in the end.
I would wholeheartedly agree, because in the sense of it's harder to say what the subjective is rather than the objective, because there's a reason why, and I would say you can hire 100 analysts on the street that'll be good at doing the objective analysis. But I think when you're looking at the C-suite, the people at the top, that's where you're getting into the subjective. They know the numbers, they can understand the numbers, but the subjective is where the shot callers are making the decisions on whether or not to even purchase a business is even worth the money.
I think so too.
The subjective too, like while we're on that note, I think it really at the end of the day comes down to how is this going to, like Grant used the word positioning before, how is this going to help position the future plans of whoever's buying it?
Yep.
If you're investing in it, how is it going to help position you? Maybe it puts you in a space that you just want to be in and you want to have some exposure in. And maybe this is the last place that you don't have exposure in. So maybe it's worth more to you than it is to someone else. If you're buying a business, maybe you already have another business like Grant did, and you can sell these products a lot easier within this business. So the positioning is really strong there. There's strategic positioning maybe. If you're just starting a business and you're making a big investment to start it, maybe it positions you in a spot where you feel like you can make future acquisitions down the line, or you can do other things that help you reach your goals. But I think the positioning, and like if you're the one valuing your business, you have to think about that and try to figure out the positioning.
I think the other thing when you're like valuing a company, you're trying to decide what the actual value of it is. I know this one gets me a lot of contention from you guys, and this isn't my this wasn't my own thinking. This was something I stole from Mr. Wonderful back in the day on Shark Tank. But I'm always thinking like, if I'm getting ready to give somebody $200,000, $500,000 for their business, whatever, even the stake in it, what can I do with that same money to try to build that business? And would I be competitive with them? If the answer to that question is, if I spent the same money, I could build just as good of a business and probably compete or steal their customers, I'm not buying that company. And I know that's a backwards way of thinking, because it's like, oh, I could just acquire their business, acquire their customers. I can grow a lot faster. Yeah, but I also just feel like I'm paying a multiple for like your years of doing things incorrectly and just accidentally stumbling upon good numbers. Because a lot of business owners do that. They have 5 years of good numbers, and it's just because they stumbled into a great market. And I'm like, that's a great market and a great product. If I just took the same investment capital and did my own thing, I'm going to grow this company just as fast.
And again, I think that's where it comes back to subjective versus objective. Whereas the first time person, when you're taking your steps into this realm of business ownership, the objective is going to be more important, because that's where you get your thing. But when you have done it as long as you have, and you had the amount of successes in industry, you know it. And like you said with Mr. Wonderful, knowing what you're looking at so deeply, you can take that 200 and effectively use it. If you're starting up from scratch, though, that 200 may be gone like that. You can have nothing to show for it.
Well, and I want to be able to answer that question in my head, not necessarily as like, an ego thing of like, oh, I would do their business better. It's for me to see if the unit economics, if the way that business is structured would make sense, right? Meaning I don't invest in businesses or get into companies that I can't like figure out on the back of a napkin. If it takes me more than like 5 steps of math to figure it out, I don't want it. Right.
We have a little bit of a disagreement in the audience as well.
Bring it.
Lucas actually disagrees with Grant a little bit.
What a surprise.
There's a lot of that when we met up for cigars too.
What's he got to say?
Oh wait, he says he worded it wrong, so we'll have an update.
No, you gotta own it.
He says time has so much more value that is often worth paying for something that's established, even if it's not positioned perfectly at that time.
I agree with him. I don't actually think that necessarily disagrees with my point. I think he's right. I think there's definitely a lot to the value of your time and not trying to. But my point that I'm making with that Lucas, and for the audience as well, is I don't think like. And this might be ego talking, but I don't think the average business owner that I see that it took them 5 years to get to those numbers. I think I can do what he did in 5 months. That's how I think a lot of times when I'm looking at some of these companies. If I can answer that, if I can say this business is so dead simple, this guy just took way too long to build systems and scale, and he's going to retire, he's trying to get out of the industry, I'm not paying multiples on that. I'm not acquiring that if I can see a way to do that in a much smaller time window. So I wouldn't look at that as something where I'm coming into a company and saying, oh, well, I would spend my $200K and then take the same long ass way around my elbow, to get to the same position this guy got his company to. I'm thinking with the way AI is right now, with the way that, CRMs are operating, automations that are out there, the way that, ads can be targeted. Like, I know a lot of these guys are not doing that. So half the time I argue with Brody, I'm like, the business that we're looking at, he's like, oh, these companies, this is a great opportunity for us. I'm like, bro, we're talking about buying a Google page and a website URL. And he's made great points in the past where there's a lot of value to that, depending on like how long the number's been in service and how many calls they get. So I respect the thinking, but I'm also just like, what are we really buying sometimes? You know?
He says he doesn't disagree with you, but at the same time, there are many established businesses that just require a good leader that can get them turned around quickly.
100% agree.
Yeah.
I think that's the real key point here is like when a business has really, really, really good bones and bad leadership,
spot on.
That's when I think this is a really different kind of thing. Because if a lot of like the organization is there, but the leadership, like organization meaning like all the resources are in the right place, the right team is there, the right people are around there, but the leader is just failing it, then you could shortcut that time a lot.
Certainly. I think at the end of the day, it's a matter of when you're looking at what you're putting into a business, time, like we said, time and experience is all, kind of whatever, you can get. And in a sense, it's, are you paying for a business's time that they've been in the market? Or are you paying, or would you rather put that money towards hiring somebody who has been in the market that you're bringing into a failing business? That's the other kind of quandary that people have.
Yeah.
Does experience as the person override the experience in the business?
Well, and to Lucas's point, that's the unicorn we're looking for. And that's a business that, to that same kind of litmus test I'm talking about, I would answer and probably say, no, I wouldn't be able to do the same thing with the same amount of money. I'm looking at this business going, actually, you guys are so far ahead despite poor leadership, right? Imagine what gets done with proper systems and proper leadership. I couldn't agree with that more. I'll say it's a unicorn because it's very rare that good businesses get grown under bad leadership. It's just rare for them to attract the right staff. It's rare for them to maintain a good competitive advantage in their market. If they exist, those are the unicorns we're trying to buy.
And
the thing to look for,
subjective.
Right.
If you're listening to this and you're looking for a business like that, I think the ones to look for are the ones that once had good leadership, but that good has become bad for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Maybe it was a health issue. Maybe it was just a change in lifestyle. Maybe they're just in a different era of their life. Maybe they went through something, but we've seen that before. And so I think that's the way to look for it. We also had another friend of the show, JP Chadwick.
What's up, JP?
Chimed in. He says, businesses are obviously worth what you think it's going to be worth if you sell a billion gajillion customers with 7,000% profit.
Well,
a very JP comment.
I mean, that's the truth of it.
Well, ironically, what he's discussing is pretty much every investment you make in the stock market ever right now, because like Amazon is what are they at, like 400 million X earnings, like is what they're trading at. Like it's absurd. The entire market's absurd.
Palantir,
absurd.
Yeah.
Who else is just losing? Oh, just OpenAI losing massive amounts of money every single day, but you're betting in the future it's going to be able to make something dramatic. So I think we're obviously on a different scale. We're talking about buying smaller companies, but yeah, for sure. Every business, if you think it's going to go to the moon, it's worth investing.
Lucas made another good point. He said, just one example, SEO takes years to get you ranked, employee training, etc. He says, let's grab a cigar. I'll point out a few of the unicorns there out there.
Come on, Lucas. Yeah, where the hell? Where have you been, bro? I
know, we miss you.
Yeah, I miss cracking on you, bro.
I think one of the points, though, to the amount of money question as well is simply, I always pointed out when I'm talking to people about investing or in what they're doing with this, and maybe it's my baseline monkey brain going, if S&P or mutual fund is 8 to 10% guaranteed, in the last 5 years we've seen upwards of 15, 17%
it's been
even.
Crazy.
Can I, with this money, do that return in my business? Can I do it better? And if I can't say that confidently,
I don't want it.
I don't want it.
The one thing I want to say on Lucas's topic there a second ago about like some of the benefits to these businesses that are out there, SEO is a great example. I think because the landscape of business is shifted, we've seen it shift dramatically post-COVID. We all know that business now versus business then is different, right? Now the shift that's happening with AI is going to break even things like that. It's going to break things that we looked at 2-3 years ago as being a multiplier, force multiplier to the valuation, right? Mm-hmm. Before, if I saw somebody with 2,000 Google reviews, it's a no-brainer that business is a rock star. 5 years from now, I don't think that's going to matter as much. You know why? Because I think everybody's going to be searching for their stuff on AI. They're going to be going to ChatGPT. They're going to be going to Claude and Gemini asking, who's the best person around me? So it's not going to be about SEO anymore. It's going to be about how you show up on LLMs, how you're going to show up on these large language models. How are you going to come through in the landscape of AI? So you could be, and I think a lot of people are, I think private equity is going to end up seeing this unless they're going to start implementing these strategies. You could be overpaying in multiples now for systems that are legacy. It's going to be like having a great fax number years ago that everyone knew how to get to your fax. Like no one faxes anymore, right? It's like there's going to be a transition to some of these things. I think even what we're seeing with PPC, Brody and I talk about this every day right now.
And Lucas is chiming in with the comments a little bit more. He says exactly, but how do you rank on AI? I'll chime in here a little bit and say, we've just seen some flashes of it so far.
Yeah, we've done.
But we have a community where we just do calls every Wednesday night. Grant and I do, and Ryan's on there a lot as well. But we've actually seen a lot of people just find that community from things like YouTube videos or Instagram videos. So I think one huge area to be looking at for anyone is like, what is a company's presence on social media and Meta? Like, are they maybe not even Meta as much, but yeah, just organic in general. Like, how are they positioned on? I think really YouTube is going to be one of the huge ones because
YouTube has been
found on YouTube many a time, and a lot of times it's like there will be people that are searching in a different country that are just searching for the exact thing that we're talking about, and they somehow find us because the AI is just getting that good at finding descriptions and compiling them and kind of putting it together that way. So I think YouTube is a huge thing, and just like going in the direction of like having really good organic ranking content where not only can the AI find you, but it can, I mean, now like I have a program that we use, that Grant and I use for a lot of things, that the AI can automatically transcript videos like that. So AI is that good. It's able to find content, break it down, get the descriptions, the SEO associated with it, but also the transcript of the video itself. And so I think that's a huge part.
I think to add to that, because Lucas is, I don't know if that was like a rhetorical question, if he was saying like, how do you rank well on AI? Like you also have to have good SEO, which is probably part of what he's saying, which I agree with 100% if that's what he's going for. But the other side of that token is, I think what we're going to see shift in this market is, before it was very much so pay to play, meaning you want SEO to work well, you better be paying for people to have backlinks. You better be paying for visibility with other, news branches or people in your area, get press, get PR. You better be paying for, Google to sponsor you so you show up and you're getting more clicks that way. You better be on that first page, right? What we're seeing with AI, and what at least my limited understanding and studies so far have shown, it's going to be more about veracity, being able to verify that the information about a company is truthful and accurate, because that AI is what the race is currently. Whether that's going to shift in a few years when it becomes pay to play, also, who knows? But right now, the shift is to what's going to produce the most accurate answer, right? That's why people are going back and forth between Claude or OpenAI, right? If they go to ChatGPT, it's great for conversation. They're going to Claude to coding because Claude's giving them better, more accurate coding, right? So it's winning more market share. So how businesses are ranking and showing up on AI is the message that you're sending on your website or your social media, is it true? Or are you just BSing? You can't just say I'm the best company anymore, top #1 company in Florida. Are there other people verifying that? And is the content consistent?
Lucas says, I've never heard Grant be so humble with my limited understanding.
Well, okay, I may have nerded out on the subject a little bit before, but my point being is like that this is how these AIs are ranking. The reason why we're coming up in some of this content, in my opinion, so far, is the stuff that Brody puts out, your social media, your YouTube, all this stuff. It's not only organic, but it's verifiable and it's truthful. And it's something that AI is connecting to other sources and saying, hey, that's the correct thing. He's not just spitting BS. He's just not throwing out, mumbo jumbo.
I do plenty of that too.
Yeah, but you don't, but not in your content, at least. Like your content at least is on point. So I think to kind of bring that all the way back around, like if I'm looking at valuing businesses in today's economy, in today's market, I'm thinking about the business I'm going to buy that's going to take me into the next stage. What I'm looking for is businesses that lack a lot of those things, but have good foundational elements, that have a good team, that have good people to execute, that if I were to put AI systems in, put good CRMs, good sales tactics, good SOPs on top of, it will multiply the company. I don't want companies that already have some amalgamation and just connection of different, systems kind of half-assed put together right now, and they've got good SEO or a good Google page, whatever. I don't want that stuff. I want something that's kind of broken and buried, and I want to restart it. So
we have
we got one more.
We got a few that have come in kind of in the same vein of conversation. I think this is a good one to kind of end that line of the conversation on. Zach Hovelman, another friend of the show, Grant and I are having lunch with him soon. He says, seems like attention is the new SEO.
No question.
And I think that's a really good way of putting it.
Spot on.
If you can get attention on these different social media presence websites, then that helps you just be found by AI more. And Lucas kind of echoed this as well. He said, YouTube content is huge for SEO organically, so it will position you high at AI.
Couldn't agree more. Yeah, these things all work together. They all work together in today's landscape, in today's, sort of business marketplace. But it's astonishing. I mean, we all see it every day. How many of these businesses are still successful despite doing everything backwards when it comes to tech? Like not properly caring about their SEO or their ad spend, or their even like they haven't even heard of AI. Maybe they just started popping up ChatGPT the last few months or whatever. They're successful despite these things. So I think the valuation right now for me is really how successful are you despite your ignorance.
I mean, I think that's the kind of the be all end all of it. If you are visible, if you are doing a good job, I mean, finding a mom and pop shop where everybody in town knows their name but has never once went to their website, that's the one you kind of want to buy.
100%.
That's kind of what we landed on here.
Yeah, I mean, like there's a ton of examples in what we're doing currently, but I think, just one of the companies that we started working on recently, which was the landscaping business, is a good example of this. They had great foundation, great product, great service, great people, right? They were taking way too long to get quotes out. They were taking way too long to get back to customers. Simple adjustments in their tech stack, by adding proper automations in and adding AI into the business, we were able to essentially triple their revenue in the first quarter compared to year over year for 2025, right? Like those are the types of things I'm looking for right now. We're talking about valuing something.
Sure.
And another great comment from Lucas here. He says, because customer service and quality service still has a place in people's hearts. And I think that's the big thing. If you can find a business that has grown despite being terrible at all these other things that you need to do to win in the modern age, because of how good its customer service is and how good it's been doing by its customers for so long. And it's not hard to bring great, SEO and some of these new practices into it. That's where you can really have a lot of success.
I think that has more of a place in people's brains and hearts than it did 10 years ago, even. I mean, you would think good service always mattered, but in a large way, it matters now more than ever.
It's the most important thing. It's it's that subjective, it's that intangible that you cannot put on a spreadsheet or a P&L.
Yeah. I think maybe the last thing I would consider in that equation is like market economics, meaning like what's the market size as a whole? How does that market look in that area that you're looking to buy from? And is it an industry that we think is going to get disrupted now by tech? Because like you've seen a lot of disruption happen in the last 10, 15 years on major brands, major things that were huge commodities for people forever. Do you think it's going to be resistant to the AI boom?
And I think that only takes a quick Google search and a little bit of thinking.
Yeah.
I mean, robot butlers probably not going to happen. Self-driving cars.
We saw them at CES.
There was literally robot.
There was robots.
I saw the one that took 42 hours to fold the towel.
To fold a shirt.
Yeah.
Okay, but Ryan, that's today, bro.
We will be dead by the time it's functional.
No. Next year it'll be 4.2 hours. Next year it'll be 4.2
and by the
minutes.
time we're in the old folks' home, it'll finally be doing it in under an hour.
I disagree. I think the robotics stuff is gonna. I mean, dude, we saw one.
Waymo just got outed.
Dude, we just saw them playing ping pong. We saw them like boxing at CES. Like it's way farther.
They were doing
Brother, Rock'em Sock'em Robots was in the 70s. We have been had.
All right. That's fair.
This took a turn, but I think the overarching theme of the conversation is the landscape has changed dramatically.
Yeah.
Before AI had its pop, like in the last couple of years, I think you could look at a business and you could really start to figure out, okay, it's probably worth a multiple of a couple points on a couple percentage or a couple multiples on what the earnings of the business are. But now you have to look at it and you have to factor all these other things in. Like, can this business be completely disrupted overnight? Like, are they standing on a foundation of sand, or do they have a really strong foundation and good bones that are not going to be shaken by AI?
Absolutely. Great points. I think the other thing is, like, what hard assets do these businesses hold? Because a lot of asset classes have appreciated in ways we didn't expect, right? Like just having a truck. Like some of these businesses, like they don't realize that their truck is worth more now than it was when they bought it in 2018, even though it's got more miles on it, because the used market's flipped upside down because it's $60,000 for an F-150 right now. Right? Like commercial properties, right? There was that little issue with commercial real estate for a second where it was tanking. But the people that have had these properties because they've owned the business for 15, 20 years, there's serious money in the upside of the real estate itself. If you can get that on a good deal inside the play, right? So like, I would also be looking at those things. I mean, these are more of the hard, objective, questions. But those are big question marks for me right now too. I hate the idea of buying businesses based solely off of cash flow these days, because there's just so much that can shift it. So
it's a great point. Don't buy off of cash flow only, folks. Know your market first before you buy off of cash flow, because you'll be able to recognize whether the bones are worth the multiple. And we do this every Tuesday night, right around 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll see you on the next one. Let us know what you want us to talk about. We'll cover more topics like this, but this was a fun one. So thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys on the next one.
Thanks, guys.